Hello, the Open Studio is on air, and today we will discuss with our guest, the head of BRICS Africa television, AYANDA HOLLOW, what's happening in South Africa and what joint projects can we implement here in Russia. This year, 2024, Russia is chairing BRICS, and our special interest is in the BRICS member countries. Hello, Ayanda.
Привет, Elena, Marlo in Xhosa.
My first question concerns South Africa in general. We here in Russia know quite a lot about China, India, even Brazil. South Africa is perhaps a more mysterious country for us. We know about it from the works of the poet Korney Chukovsky, and we are familiar with the river Limpopo thanks to him. We know South Africa from modern films, for example, Neil Blomkamp's fantastic movies like District 9. From your point of view, what would be important to tell Russians about South Africa?
South Africa is quite a diverse society. It's actually a picture of what a multipolar world could be like. Yet it also had, it has its challenges of the past, as you referred to Neil Blomkamp's District 9 movie. It does show that part of our society, and as well as the remnants of apartheid, and as well as the differentiator of how the other, especially whether it minority other or other people who just differ with us, and how in that film they are treated. It does really highlight the struggles of the people of South Africa that are still today treated in the world affairs as the other. As you know that we in Africa are probably about 1.2 billion people, and yet we're still not represented in the multi-structures like such as the UN Security Council, with no representation and no voice at all that is permanently there. So I think Russian people can really take that movie. It maybe sound to you as something that happened in 2009 as a film, but it's a continuous struggle. Yes, we had our 1994 breakthrough of freedom in South Africa, and yet we're still the other when it comes to the economic affairs. Unlike you guys, I think whatever is happening here in Russia, at least you can claim that you do have the sovereignty of your economy. When it comes to South Africans' economy, the majority of the people, unfortunately, till to this very day, are the other that the movie describes.
So, are the main tasks now in South Africa is to overcome, for example, such things as were metaphorically shown in the District 9? It's like inequality, poverty in general, and lack of representation in global governance at the UN level, for example. And actually, the Neil Blomkamp's District 9 movie is very well known and loved in Russia.
We do have a strong a foreign policy that really states that we do need to progress as a human society. We need to progress into a multipolar world that really celebrate the diversity. And as we say in South Africa, that we can be united in diversity. In Xhosa, we say, umntu ngumntu ngabantu. I am because you are. So there's quite a space.
It's on Zulu, no?
It's Xhosa. It's Xhosa, yes. You also say in Zulu, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. So, which really emphasizes that the more you are, the more you contribute towards a human race, the better I will be as a person myself. That means that we cannot have, or no longer really have, one Western dominated views about values of how we should live. We all need all our voices and all our values celebrated so that the world can really progress and really ensure that there's no one left behind. All of us can fight the racial tendencies, can also fight sexist tendencies, and as well as the inequalities that are happening in the world. South Africa is not a poor country at all, and thus it is important to us that with all the richness of our environment, our resources, we ensure that people in that part of the world, and as well as our neighbors, can live beyond just the poverty line.
You're the head of BRICS Africa television. Let's discuss the media projects that you're implementing in South Africa, as well as those projects that we could implement together, within the framework of bilateral cooperation, as well as within the framework of the BRICS Association.
As TV BRICS Africa, we came here to the BRICS Media Summit with one single-minded idea of increasing the volume and the frequency of our collaboration. Yes, we do collaborate with some of the media in Russia, and yet we think now, other than just sharing content, we need to develop television productions that can really showcase and keep the Russian audiences informed about what is happening in South Africa, but also how South Africans view the world, how South Africans enjoy life. As much as Russians have been around here, enjoying the arts, enjoying the culture, and enjoying master musicians that I've seen here. I went to the Bolshoi Theatre. It was a great opera performance. And you'll be surprised of how much South Africans know about your culture and the expertise you have. But I think nonetheless that we do need to have more productions that our young people can showcase what South Africa has to offer. And in more than that, how do we feature together in one production, in one screen, other than your story or my story, but our story together?
You're the head of BRICS Africa television. Let's discuss the media projects that you're implementing in South Africa, as well as those projects that we could implement together, within the framework of bilateral cooperation, as well as within the framework of the BRICS Association.
Well, there's a couple of stories I think we can tell. Russia is known for ice hockey. Can you imagine someone, Elena, coming from Soweto to come and join the ice hockey team and playing in the ice? It will be something that we can definitely explore. I know South Africa, as I said, that it's not only diverse in people, also diverse in the environment. We've got beautiful underwater imagery that Russians haven't seen. We are surrounded by 3 oceans: Arctic Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and Indian Ocean. And most of those films we haven't really touched. We are fortunate to still be in the dark, ensuring that we have dark skies and astronomy, that and you have expertise in sciences. And I think those stories need to be told of how people in Africa, how people in South Africa still to this very day can really look up the sky and tell you about the fortunes of tomorrow. So that science, people, yes, will call it like old science, but it's part of our civilization that I think, together with the expertise of the scientists in South Africa and scientists in Russia, we can really tell beautiful stories, and we all have the beautiful spaces to share such stories together.
Вы упомянули о разнообразной, красивой природе Южной Африки, и действительно
You mentioned the diverse and beautiful nature of South Africa. Indeed, this will increasingly attract tourists, including from Russia. I looked at YouTube channels, and Russian bloggers and travelers began to travel to South Africa, making videos from there. The tourist destination is really developing. How do you assess the tourist prospects? Do we have the possibility of direct flights? Is there a tourist flow from South Africa to Russia? It seems to me that for the resident of the South Africa and the entire African continent, our country should be very interesting, because it's extremely diverse and very different from yours.
Tourism is huge in South Africa, and I think Russian people who've been there can attest to that. Yes, we've got one of the best climates, but I think the government is working on the access, the air access. I believe that there is talks that started already around getting a direct flight between Cape Town and Moscow, which that's Cape Town is where I come from, actually. So I'll be quite excited to see those developments improving, but I'm sure they'll be clearly deliberated on in this next coming BRICS. I believe that the BRICS Business Council will be the appropriate people that will be working on such. But yeah, it's as into trade, because tourism really drives trade. So I do believe that there's a lot of South Africans that really want to get into Moscow, get into St. Petersburg, a beautiful space, and to understand the trade over that side. But I think there are some already companies from South Africa, I think such as Aspen, they're already here and they're doing business in Russia. So
and what kind of companies it is? Aspen?
Aspen is a pharmaceutical company.
Pharmaceutical,
Pharmaceutical company that is already operating here in Russia. And I think we do need to promote more of the Russian companies. Pretty much that's what we also would like and give the opportunity to Russian companies that are operating in South Africa to be able to use BRICS Africa channel to promote themselves and advertise themselves to the South African and Southern African audiences, so that the tourism can definitely improve. Yes, we do understand that most South African or Africans associate Russia with cold weather, but I don't think the secret is out of how beautiful Moscow can be during the summer months. But I think it's also a different product, and we don't get snow, so it can really attract a lot of youngsters who really want to experience snow, wants to have all the beautiful things that the period of winter brings.
Вы упомянули о развитии торговли между нашими странами. Действительно, это очень важно. Действительно, туризм
You mentioned the development of trade between our countries. Indeed, tourism, among other things, allows for establishing business relations. Which companies from Russia would be of interest to South Africa? Maybe these could be industrial companies. What, in your opinion, is promising for work in South Africa? And which companies from South Africa could interact with their Russian companies?
Работы в Южной Африке, естественно, наоборот, какие компании из Южной Африки могли бы взаимодействовать с Россией?
I think in the sector of agriculture, South Africa already exports citrus fruit to Russia, and I think Russia also is quite interested in the energy space in South Africa. It's a space where I think you've got the most expertise in when it comes to gas, and South Africa needs to diversify its energy mix, and gas plays an important part in that energy mix. There's also on the IT front, not a lot of ICT, information technology companies are known in South Africa, and yet Russia also has quite a diverse expertise in the IT sector that South Africans have not really been exposed to. Thus, I was requesting and different companies here to say, hey, I'm sure COVID must have really opened our minds to say that we can no longer rely only on one set of technologies. We do need to broaden our ways of looking at technology so that the reliance is not only on one side, and when that side is closed, there's nothing else we can do. So I think the mining as well as minerals resources. I had a privilege of speaking to Dr. Goodman, who deals around palladium as a source that definitely needs to be researched further. So I think in mining, in resource energy, in agriculture, and as well as in films and entertainment, you guys have a different way of sharing your stories. I'm privileged to visit the embassy in South Africa that plays a lot of classic Russian movies.
From Soviet period? From
Soviet periid.
Oh, you watch the Soviet movies here. Yes. We love it here.
Yes, and a lot of South Africans love those movies because they offer something different from the use of camera work and from the use of symbolism. It's really something interesting that I think as BRICS Africa channel is part of the things that we would like to, that iconography of learn from you guys of how you deliver the story. And yeah.
And what's your favorite Soviet movie or movies, if you can remember the titles?
I do remember there's From Moscow with Love. Yes, I think it's about drama around Moscow, and I think it's probably that movie that makes me want to come to Moscow every time.
Let's get back to your TV channel BRICS Africa. Tell our viewers, please, where in general they can see TV BRICS Africa and what programs can they watch there. What can we learn from South Africa, in particular through the TV channel BRICS Africa, and in general about the entire African continent?
BRICS Africa channel is really a channel that celebrates and monitors the progress of BRICS. It's really set up to tell the stories on the geopolitical front, the geopolitics, the governance of the declarations of BRICS and all the meetings that the leaders have been having all the years. So it's threefold. It's about geopolitics. It's also about the economic development. At times, people want to really give misinformation about the progressive decisions that BRICS has done, but also the implementation of things that have done. I think it was last month when the BRICS Bank, the new development bank, actually gave South Africa a loan of like 5 billion for Transnet to improve our logistics. So there's quite a really beneficial on the ground evidence-based programs that the Association of BRICS Nations have really developed. And the third one is more about culture and people exchange, us understanding each other deeply so that our decisions can really be on, as the Chinese normally say, a win-win path, and a path that can really ensure that we developed with mutual respect. So we show the cultural side of Russia. We actually even show things like Taste of Russia. So we do have some Russian programming, and also for the first time in South Africa, you can also hear those programs in Russian. So we do have partners here in Russia. We have TV BRICS Russia as a partner that also gives us some content. We also share the content from Africa's side to be aired to this side of the world. So TV BRICS in a nutshell is really about capturing the voice and the imagery of the multipolar world. At times we talk about the multipolar world, but we don't have a gist of where people can see what is the new world order is going to be about. So we would like to say that we are the amplifiers of this new world order. Yes, the leaders will be the deciding panel and lead us to this new world, but we think it's quite important that we televise the new multipolar world that is at play today.
Since the Soviet period, we have had great tradition of interaction in the field of education. We have institutes where people from different countries, including African countries, have studied and then returned to their homeland and there now occupy their leadership positions, helped in the development of the industry, culture, science. And now these traditions are preserved. What joint educational projects with South Africa are there now, and which ones would be appropriate to develop?
I think we do need new exchange programs around the field of education, specifically science and maths education, and as well as education around productive sectors such as agriculture, large-scale agriculture, and as well as in the health spaces. I think those three for me are ranked up the most, because I think with education in food production, it's one of the key things that South Africa is already a bread basket for most countries around our neighborhoods, and yet we still need to amplify the education around food sovereignty, so that a lot of Africans in particular to really grow and use the space optimally to really grow their capacity of providing food for the continent and abroad.
If we talk about the agricultural sector, we know that today, unfortunately, hunger persists in the world. Of course, this should not happen in the 21st century. It's really a big problem. We also have a big problem with the quality of the products of the food. For instance, there are two chemicals, additives, GMOs, and so on. Of course, everyone is striving for the agricultural sector to become more environmentally friendly, to become more natural. Our goal is to obtain high-quality natural food at affordable prices, and this food is available to all the people on the earth, so the hunger no longer exists. What's been done in South Africa to succeed in this direction, to develop the agricultural sector and provide opportunities for high-quality, environmentally friendly, accessible food for all?
I think there's a great opportunity within the policy that government has, which is called the Black Empowerment Policy, that really tries to get our economy to be inclusive. One of the weakest parts of our economy is because it's really exclusive, and a very few tiny minority of people actually play in that space. And I think for Russian businesses partnering with the black farmers, I think that's one of the best ways that not only would improve the economy, but also will diversify the economy. Because as black farmers, yes, as much as they were marginalized before, one of the still marginalizing effects is because of power to capital. Capital is still dominated by your Western banks. And I think it's for Russian and other members of BRICS. I know the Chinese are taking up this opportunity of partnering with Africans and under that Black Economic Empowerment Policy that gives the investors great incentives, but also it's about increasing the numbers, not necessarily excluding other people, and not definitely excluding young people who are really the future of our farming and where the most opportunities lie. The only thing that they need is really capital partners that can focus in Africa and elsewhere.
And so you've got the special support program for the young farmers. And what kind of support program is it? Because it's Russia, it's very important too to support our young farmers. Maybe we can cooperate in this.
Sure. We do have a policy of making farming fashionable. We do have a program on giving land and equipment support to young farmers.
For free?
Yes, for free. The only part that they obviously need the most, or maybe the most crucial part, is having access to markets. So, and I think Russia can be one great market, but also the machinery that and the logistics and understanding of like how you commercially farm. You guys at least have had years and years and decades of practice of like how do you scale up. So I do believe that there's quite a lot of a promising advantage in the measure or the partnership between young African farmers and the other BRICS members state that can really bring one, the market access, and as well as the capital that they can have joint ventures. And then you end up with all the incentives that government has for that entity.
And do you use such a form as the cooperative for the agricultural? If yes, have an example for this cooperative, because in the agricultural, for instance, in the Europe, in the like Scandinavian countries, or in England and Scotland and so on, it's in Finland, the cooperatives where small farmers are joined in one cooperative,
Sure.
and it's easier for them to access to the markets, to the domestic markets and all over the world. In the Russia, in the Soviet, we've got such an experience as a cooperative. It was pretty broad. Now we have, unfortunately, a lack of it, but I guess it's a good perspective. So you have this form of cooperative. Can you share this?
We do have a policy and of cooperatives. However, personally, I'm not really a fan of cooperatives because I believe in the market. The market dictates of like how we work, and I think the weakness of cooperatives. Yes, the cooperatives are good for maybe in the rural spaces, but they take quite a lot to govern, and at times governance is really democratic. So today you could be a CEO of this cooperative, and then within 6 months, the cooperative wants somebody else to govern, which really doesn't play it well when it comes to like long-term planning and really starting things from the ground. I think the entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs in South Africa, I'm not suggesting that there shouldn't be such formats, but I think the format that really appeals to me personally is really entrepreneurs and giving those young Africans great support that they can be entrepreneurs in that space. And I think they can do extremely excellent things.
And you mentioned the strategic, and in South Africa, on the government level, do you use the strategic planning or the part of strategic planning? If yes, can you tell us about these policies?
South Africa is fortunate because it started what they call the National Development Plan. And the National Development Plan is a plan over, I would say, probably it's the 2030 National Development Plan, really based on the 9 key strategic points. And it then breaks those points per almost electoral cycles. So every 5 years, it will have something they call a mid-term strategic framework, a document of priorities of what's need to be done that can feed to the long-term 2030 vision. And obviously it also follows under the 2063 AU agenda that wants to ensure that Africans are safe, are very much also similar to your 17 sustainable goals that we all struggle with and sometimes not really paying great attention to. So South Africa does have a strong governance framework. The key part that makes the South African economy still a small economy is that those who've been dominating around the Western access to markets have really kept it very exclusive and kept it into small hands without understanding the mathematics of it. If you have people, and South Africa is in an incredible position of having the youth dividends. Young people, probably half the population is under the age of 28. So we do have they might not be as experienced as others, but they have a good health, they've got good skills, and they really need to get to work. And yet those who are really in control of the South African economy do not see that. I think they quite very short-sighted in my opinion, but I think things are changing. I mean, the president has, I think recently as yesterday, signed the national health insurance, making sure that people will really have a greater access to healthcare that can really get them fit to work.
You mentioned healthcare. What steps is your government making to make life better in Africa for all people, for the social security, access to their medicine? In our country, such traditions have existed since the Soviet Union. Actually, the Soviet Union was a very social country. And today, South Africa, how is it developing its social sector?
The government of the African National Congress has always been on the side of the poor. So it's almost its DNA to really focus on those who are struggling the most. We do have various instruments on the social side of things. For instance, if you are a bright student, you can always and you can't afford, you can always get funding from NSFAS that can pay for university. You actually, even you're a child and in a family that cannot afford, you do have instruments of a child grant, making sure that the rights of children to food, to education, and to safety. So South Africa is probably one of the countries that has a strong legislation around child protection. As well as the apartheid government really did not build accommodation in houses for Africans in particular. So in the last 20, 30 years, the government has really been spending quite a lot of part of its fiscus to really accommodate people and get families houses. We're probably one of the few countries in the world that has accommodated probably about 3.5 million houses that have been built and given for free.
For people here. Oh, you got the social housing school.
Yes, and it's
So you provide the people the houses for free to help them to fight the poverty. Yes, right?
Yes,
Cool.
that's correct. So we still continuously having that program. So the last time I checked the numbers, I think they were just above 3.5 million houses, and it really changes the dynamics of society. When it comes to housing, when it comes to in South Africa, you can literally be a kid who's grown up from that house. You go to free school, you get food until you're 18 years of old age, and then you then get a bursary from through NSFAS, and then you go to university. So pretty much for free. So pretty much
without any credits or something, just you can go for free if you are good pupil. If you are good at in the school, you can.
Yes, if obviously you match the university accreditation or grades for access to university. You don't need to be an A student. You just need to match and get a bachelor pass from your final year, and you'll be able to go to university. I mean, I was watching the University of South Africa's graduations, and all those policies have really done something significant, not only to Africans, but also to women in general in that society. I was watching the UNISA graduation ceremony. I would say 80% of the people who were graduating were women.
Oh, cool.
I mean, this is unheard of. Before, women almost like were not allowed to really prosper. But when you watch today, the transformation that has taken place in the last 30 years, you can see those policies did work. So, yeah.
And how many women are represented in your government bodies, in the management of companies, on the board of directors? In general, how are women represented in power in South Africa today?
As BRICS Africa channel, we've observed you can access BRICS Africa channel through an app called Free Vision. You can Google Play, you can get it, and it plays also here in Russia. And we've observed that whenever South Africa is in a multi forum, whether in South Africa, China, or anywhere else, you should look at the delegations. You'll know who's bringing the diversity. On one side, it will be a president with all the men. And if it's South Africa is in the room, you will see a diverse group of people.
Yeah,
you will really think it's a United Nations. So we do have strong policies about the emancipation of women. I mean, our parliament, the last time I checked, it was 50% of women in parliament were women. And also a lot of other businesses are also starting to transform. Yes, there's still problems in the main economy. As I said, that our economy is still not in our hands. I should really emphasize this. But it's not about the economy being in our hands. It's about the lack of understanding for those companies and missing out on the dividends of diversity. Diversity, it's not about a colorful men, women sitting together, but it's about the dividends you can get in thinking, the dividends you can get in ideas, and how people resolve their problems, and for themselves and for others out there. So South Africa, yes, in the formal space of government, the ANC has a policy of 50-50. And I think it's one of the best things that the ANC has done for that society. But it's something that also South Africans likes to promote everywhere they go, that diversity and bringing women into the fold, into the ideas of a society are not problems only of men. They are problems for entire society. So why would you leave women behind when you have to resolve such issues?
South Africa has a very interesting, vibrant culture. What could you tell us about the cultural projects that you're implementing? And in general, tell about your culture for the people of Russia.
South Africa is really, really rich in diversity and its culture. I guess it's because of our long-standing civilization, ancient civilization, if I might add. I mean, you would take someone like me from Nyanga East in Cape Town, pretty much coming from the family of arts and culture. You know, my uncles were the teachers and the founding members of Nyanga Arts Center, and where I really Nyanga Arts Center. Arts Center, and yes, so I said that we're really privileged that we come from a strong cultural family, but also Africa is a strong cultural space. In South Africa in particular, with me being from the Xhosa clan, and we normally joke around and say that we've been oppressed almost for 400 years, and yet we can still speak our language, isiXhosa. This is the language of Mandela. Till to this very day, that shows the resilience, pretty much the resilience that people of Russia also can really boast about a civilization that is strong enough and has great values that we all need to protect. So there's quite a lot. I mean, from your traditions, be it indigenous instruments like marimba, your mbira. I don't know if you know of an instrument called mbira. No. Mbira is what they call a thumb piano. This is a version of what piano used to be before the Germans. Before the Germans took the idea and created the grand piano. But we used to have mbira. And that music, it's complex and yet complex mathematically, melodically, and people still to this very day play these instruments, like ancient instruments that are still with us today, besides the colonialization and everything else, but the resilience of the people and knowing that culture. So we're quite strong in that sense. We probably in South Africa, we normally say to people that our freedom and our struggle was in 4-part harmony. And I'm sure you've seen when we are striking and protesting, people always sing in 4-part harmony. So we're quite gifted. I mean, even it's great that we're starting to open up the media spaces. I look at the digital spaces on the social scenes. People are dancing South African dances around the world. If you go on TikTok, people are singing Igwijo around the world, which is a beautiful thing to witness. And so we are people of the earth. We are people, we're the sons and daughters of the soil, and really we do believe that our culture has so much value to offer the world that really creates you and me, as we say, umntu ngumntu ngabantu.
Thank you for the very interesting talk.
Spasiba.